Welcome everyone to Epiphan's Video on Campus Symposium for our education audience for 2024. We're really excited to have you join us, and we're thrilled to have three amazing panelists that let me just sit back and listen and hopefully ask a few dumb questions that I'll get really smart answers to. I will invite everybody else. We want to make this interactive. Please share your questions in the chat. We've got Marta on our team monitoring that, and she'll be feeding me back the questions so we can ask our illustrious guests what they think. Because I think the big thing that we really value here at Epiphan is that partnership with all our customers and how you guys really help us drive what we're doing next, but also make sure that what we're doing today aligns with what your needs are in the classroom and where video is going. And I do want to emphasize, today's conversation is we purposely made the title broad. We made the event broad. We do want to talk about the fullness of video on campus because I know many of you will know us for events or for lecture capture and some of the things we do, but there's a lot more that goes on. And, we brought these three great panelists in so they can share some of the amazing things that they're doing on their campuses. And, with that, I want to, kick this off and bring on our first guest today, and that's Mr. Troy Powers of Northwestern University. How are you doing, Troy?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
We're so glad you're here. We're excited we got to go up there and visit you a few weeks back and see what's going on in Northwestern. So, just kick it off. Tell us, what you're doing with video at Northwestern and what you're so excited about for this summer and beyond.
So I think what we're doing at Northwestern, I mean, mostly, Northwestern is still kind of officially all in-person lectures. So, we don't really, while all our classrooms are kind of hybrid, most of our classrooms, we're getting there next year. They all will be hybrid capable. We don't really use it. So, what we, do is primarily lecture capture. We have a lot of high profile events, so we bring in, extra cameras, things like that, to record high, TED Talks, things like that. When commencement, when the deans speak, that kind of thing. But lecture capture is really where what I deal with. What I'm kind of most excited for this summer is we just unboxed a bunch of Pearl Nexuses, excuse me, Epiphan Pearl Nexuses. And we're going to be installing those when we get back from InfoComm in a couple of weeks, and just playing around with those and getting my team kind of up to speed with the Epiphan infrastructure, the back end. So that's what I'm really looking forward to.
I think everybody on this call is pretty excited for that. I think you're going to hear that as a theme today. I think there were a lot of boxes started showing up this week. We're really excited to get those with FedEx and UPS and all the carriers over the past kind of 10 days of the first run, and they're going to keep coming out all summer. So I know that's what you've got for your summer plans, but I think part of today's theme is also, what are you thinking about beyond, the next school year, and where do you want that infrastructure to go? I know you said your next thing is you got a few more rooms that need to be hybrid capable, but there's something else you want to implement on campus, to really take it to the next level.
Um, I mean, there's always things we can do. I don't know, yeah, we're moving towards, maybe looking towards maybe implementing Zoom rooms across the campus, potentially. When we bring our new building online, we're having a building renovated right now. It comes online in 2026. So that's something kind of forward thinking. That's what we're looking at. I mean, hey, maybe the Pearl needs to be a Zoom room compute device. I don't know. But I think forward thinking, that's probably what's most on my mind is Zoom rooms, Zoom room appliances, the changes that Zoom's coming out with in terms of multiple cameras, things like that, different control. Yeah, forward thinking, that's what's on my mind.
So I'm just going to slide into the desk now because I'm not sure that I want to work on another Zoomer appliance, but I know that's been a very fruitful discussion for us and some of the partners. I know that's definitely been a shift in higher ed and some folks. I know another call on Monday with a school out in California that's basically all they have in a room is a Zoom or a Teams appliance. And I know we're thinking about the many different ways we can interface with that ecosystem, and it's definitely we have folks doing it today, so we want to make sure it works well for you. Um, we've got some fun Q&A questions popping in. I think we'll do a Northwestern specific one for you, Troy. We hear your football team's got a new home next year. What does that look like? Should people come visit and check out the campus?
So I mean, I think everybody on campus is kind of wondering what it's going to look like. It's a beautiful space where they're kind of working and building this stadium right on the lake. I mean, just a beautiful space. And I don't know. I think they're saying 10 to 15,000 fans. I don't know how they're going to do it. We just got an email that says construction's going until August. We'll be watching and see kind of what it ends up looking like.
Cool. I think I know it was gorgeous. We're out there. We're excited to get back and see it. And I know we'll see you in a few days at InfoComm. And I'm sure many of the folks, on the webinar, listening to the audience will be there too. But, where else can, folks meet you, see, what's going on? I know you're a big part of HETMA as well.
We've got a booth again this year. It's two stories this time, so we'll be doing podcasting upstairs. We've got you can come see us online, hetma.org. We've got an online community. If you have AV related questions or just want to kind of hang out with like-minded professionals, it's a great place to kind of be. Specifically, if you want to know kind of what's going on in InfoComm, we've got an event zones kind of set up all for that. If you're looking to hang out with higher ed folks, you can check that out. Look at the calendar of events. Just kind of reach into the chat and say, "Hey, where is everybody?" And kind of figure that out. The booth is C5651. We're not far from you guys. We'll be out there. We have happy hours from 2 to 4. All 3 days. We loved the first one sponsored by LG. Thursday is sponsored by X2O Media, and Friday will be Panasonic Connect. Just love to see if you're with higher ed, if you're a vendor, if you're not with higher ed, come on out and see what HETMA's all about.
Cool. Well, thanks for coming by today, Troy. I know we're really excited to be part of all that next week and see everyone there. So please, make sure you stop by the HETMA booth or reach out to like Troy said on the website to the group or some of the folks there, and they're always happy to share what they're doing. So Troy, we're gonna shift into our next guest now. We'll see in a few minutes. I want to make this a panel discussion with everybody, but I want to bring on Mr. Mike Peterson from Iowa State University to talk about a little bit what's going on in Des Moines.
Ames, actually, little north of Des Moines. Yeah.
Well, us city folk just see Iowa.
Yeah.
That's the airport I got to fly into to get to you. So
we're flyover country. We know how we represent, right? So, but no, pretty similar to a lot of things that Troy said. Certainly, Iowa State has a reputation of being a in-person class type school, and so we're certainly working toward getting back to that as much as we can. Seeing less hybrid activity, although it certainly depends on the school. Some colleges within the university are doing, but certainly lecture capture then would be our big thing that we're doing with video, especially our College of Vet Med. I mean, they are being very extensive in their use of lecture capture, obviously because of the nature of the content and what they're trying to do with it. And they're actually really using it to help students too, as far as finding ways for them to search through the video content to find specific topics that may have been covered that they wanted to go search again and cover. So some really great things going on out there at VetMed. As far as this summer goes, we're excited. Another initiative that we got going on this summer is we have 9 classrooms that were primarily used by our speech communications department, where the bulk of it is students practicing giving speeches or giving talks. So we're putting all new technology into those 9 spaces. It's going to make it much better for the teachers then to have that video. They were doing it with their phones or this or that, and it was less than ideal. And now they're going to have a really neat way with Epiphan Nexus units. Looking forward to getting those in place for them and letting those speech comm professors have a better way to review those student speeches with the students and give them feedback on that.
So, I mean, we're really excited to be helping you support both those initiatives. I know, both we've talked about this before, your vet med folks and your speech folks. I mean, those are two of the groups that always challenge you to push barriers and kind of champion new technologies. I mean, beyond broadening what they're doing, kind of what other innovations do you see happening over the next few years of your video infrastructure? What gets you thinking and excited about doing some things on campus?
Certainly, one of the things that we're trying to continue to improve on is making it better for the people who are watching the lecture capture, or in the event we're doing something hybrid, having the remote students being able to hear and, if it's live, interact better with the students in the space. And so, some of that's camera placement, but a lot of it's actually audio. And for us, one of our big initiatives is less video, but more working to make sure that we ceiling array microphones installed in more of our classrooms, and so that we have that ability to capture the student conversations in a much better, cleaner way to really improve that for the students either watching lecture capture or participating live.
I think that makes a lot of sense. That's something that, I've heard from other folks, and Troy mentioned adding Zoom to a lot of his rooms. I know some of the other schools, like, we've had James Copeland from Middle Tennessee on a few of these, and he made a similar transition to ceiling tiles over the last few years for exactly that. I'll encourage everybody to keep sending in your questions for the folks that as we're chatting. But I think one of the things I wanted to ask you about, Mike, is, I mentioned this, you talk about, your vet med, your speech folks, they're deploying and asking for that cutting edge technology. How do you work with them? How do you roll out that new tech on campus? I know you've talked to me about different folks championing initiatives, but how does that work at Iowa State?
Yeah, that's certainly our team. We help drive that to the extent that we can, and promote the use of new innovative technologies. But a lot of these colleges and departments have their own champions. Especially out at our College of Vet Med in particular, they have 2 really outstanding audiovisual technicians out there, managers, and they're constantly trying to get feedback from their students, from their faculty. What can we be doing better? And what types of technologies do you need and when and want? They recently built what's called a whole new building, a veterinary diagnostic laboratory, VDL, of cadaver labs, or that type of thing, but for animals, and small animals and large animals, right? And so they put a whole interesting set of camera solutions in those spaces to make sure they can capture that and also be able to wash them down if needed. So, it's a whole different scenario that they're dealing with out there. So, but they're constantly trying to capture the needs of their stakeholders, and they feed those to us, and then we kind of help them, guide them to solutions. So
I think you've got something figured out there with some of these solutions you've come up with, because that sounds pretty impressive. And I'm thinking you're in Des Moines because one of the reasons we're excited to have you here is I know we're heading down there next October for the ETC annual conference. And can you share a little bit more about what's going on campus for that, and how we can see some of these cool spaces you've done?
Yeah, absolutely. No, we're real excited to host the Educational Technology Collaborative, or ETC, their annual conference, October 1st through the 4th, right here in Ames, Iowa. And it's going to be an amazing event. I say it's gonna be the best ETC conference, but I might be biased. You know, one of the things that definitely be excited to show off is just a couple years back, we did open a new building called our Student Innovation Center, and it is just chocked full of technology of various forms. We have a classroom of the round in that space. We have a significant amount of lecture capture. We have a demonstration kitchen in that building that has camera setups a la Food Network, right, where you can capture straight down and on what they're cooking, and there's a whole video switching system associated with that. That's more of a live production type system, and so looking forward to showing off some of those systems on campus. So mark it on your calendars, October 1st through the 4th.
Oh,
Come join us.
it's on mine. I was booking my flights last week, so we're excited to be down there and see you in October, and hopefully many of you on the webinar will be down there too in Ames, Iowa, because it's like Mike said, it's going to be a great event. I've been to quite a few ETC and well, previously known as CCUMC events in my day, and they do truly keep getting better every year. So I think, yeah, Mike's got some great stuff on tap, and we're excited for it. With that, I'm going to bring on our third panelist, but before inviting him onto the stage, I do just want to remind everybody on the webinar, we've been throwing in Dan, our producer, has been dropping in some questions on the bottom for polling. You guys can click on the side panel and pull up the polls and answer those questions. And selfishly, as the Epiphan team, we love that information because it helps us plan better products to serve all of you. Nexus and Pearl 2 and all of that has come from some data like that. And we also love to share this back to everyone on the call to see what their peers are thinking and doing on campus and some of their challenges. So we want this conversation to go on beyond today and continue it, not just Epiphan, but also the folks on the webinar. So with that, I'm going to invite our last panel, which is the one and only Frank Alimo of UNLV, who I think many of us will see next week at InfoComm. So thanks for joining us, Frank.
Hey, thanks for having me.
So I saw some posts yesterday on LinkedIn. There looks to be a lot of boxes. It seems like you and Andy cleaned up the office pretty quickly and started moving those around. So, tell us what's going on at UNLV. What are you doing today with video?
Yeah, just like the guys before me said, summer projects at a university is ongoing, and we've kicked ours off weeks ago. We got all kinds of upgrades to our rooms going on, everything from projectors to control systems to network switches. But what you were talking about earlier is the Pearl Nexus that we've been waiting about a year for. I got my first order of 100 sitting in my room right next door. So after InfoComm, it's a hard target to get those all replaced. And about 175, I think we're replacing. So we got a long summer to go, but yeah, video wise, we're kind of like Mike and Troy's places there. I mean, pre-pandemic, we were heavy lecture capture. We were just getting into lecture capture, I should say. And then pandemic comes and suddenly it's like the sky is falling. What do we do next? And, we rub that crystal ball and we look down the road and we say, hey, let's start investing in our classrooms a little more strategically. Start throwing some more bells and whistles at it. So we made our Rebel Flex classrooms, and our Rebel Flex classrooms are basically our answer to a Swiss Army knife of a classroom is what I like to call it. You can lecture in the room, you can use it for recording, you can use it for a hybrid classroom, what have you. 3 classes in a row, back to back, and I'll use it 3 different ways. The flex in our flexible has nothing to do with the classroom flexibility. It's more for the flexibility of scheduling. Our registrar wrote it into that atmosphere that if a class had to be canceled, class had to be moved, class had to be recorded, the instructors and the students need to be flexible from now on. So that was the big charge we had during COVID. I see post-COVID, we are still investing in Rebel Flex classrooms. We've just recently installed a new building, which was just scrolling there on the screen. That's got a few in there. We finished another building that was a renovation. There was like 15 in there. So we are continually adding these flexible classrooms. However, we are 100% on campus, just like the other gentleman. And we are doing more of recording of the Rebel Flex spaces than actually using it as hybrid. I'm not sure what's going to happen pedagogy wise from the faculty. They drive what we do here in our classrooms. We take their cues. If they want more of this, that, and the other thing, they come to us, and then we start to pepper it into our rooms. So right now we're just trying to record as much as we can. We're trying to drive that from our end. We're trying to show them the benefit of that. And the students have asked for that as well. And that's the most important part, right? So that's why we're all here. We do it for the students. And essentially, if the students make more noise than the faculty, then the students win. So I have to support both. So it doesn't matter to me. I just got to go shake the tree and go to my boss and say, give me money. And I get to build fun stuff.
So what fun stuff? I mean, your Rebel Flex rooms are really impressive, and a lot of us when we hear that, we love what you've done there, and like you said, in terms of the flexibility of scheduling them, but also the different types of classes that they can support. I mean, where are you thinking kind of to take your infrastructure next? Like, what's that next step once we've Rebel Flexed all of campus? Where's your head at?
And to believe it or not, we're taking a step back. We've really thrown the kitchen sink at our classrooms in the last few years. So there's really not much we can't do in our rooms right now. We're adding, some of our specialized spaces outside of our general purpose classroom pool. Our specialized spaces, we're adding multiple cameras for demonstration recordings. Like Mike said, we don't have a cadaver lab or anything like that, but we do have specialized spaces and specialized labs that those are the folks that are really coming to us and say, hey, I want to build this or I want to build that. So those are the one-offs that's our fun spot, right? That's where we get to build these cool rooms. And it's not just our campus, our Krikorian School of Medicine, where James King, my counterpart at that school, we're affiliated with them as well. So basically everything we do here, they do there. Same software, same hardware, same policies and procedures and such. It's just, if we make a change, it's a global change. So all those fancy boxes I just bought, James is getting like 35 of those. I'll be bringing over after Infocom, and he's going to be deploying those as well. Moving forward, we're kind of taking a step back in some of our classrooms. What I mean by that is the smaller general purpose rooms that we're not using the recording features in. It's just basically like four walls and a teacher. We're kind of pulling away our touch panels, pulling away the large switchers, pulling away a lot of the features in the rooms we don't need. And we're going back to push button and just turn it on, turn it off, go in and lecture and leave. That's kind of what we're doing in the smaller rooms at this point, until we get instruction from above that says we're going to carpet bomb the entire campus and make them all Rebel Flex or make them all lecture capture. That's the route we're going to be going. But unfortunately, our campus is massive. So whether it's a lecture capture room or it's a small traditional classroom, we have a lot of them regardless.
So just question that we're seeing on those kind of classifications, is that something that you get passed by the registrar, or are you looking at the different technologies, in your usage stats to see what's been used so far?
It's been a little bit of both. So sometimes we'll get a bucket of money from the happy folks up above, and they'll say, hey, we want to build 5 more Rebel Flex rooms. Find me the 5 best candidates. So then we'll look back at our notes and see what rooms, have the right seating for it, the right HVAC, right? Architecturally in the room. There are a lot of rooms on our campus that are not architecturally sound for making a Rebel Flex classroom with ceiling microphones and speakers and everything in the right position. Some of these buildings are 30, 40, 50 years old, and renovations cost more than the actual technology in the room. At that point, we won't use that room. We're going to go to another room, right? So that's our thing, is someone comes to us and say, we want to build these rooms. We go if we find the space. On the other hand, sometimes I'll go to my boss and say, hey, we need to do this, that, and the other thing. Something's failing. Something's not working. We have a lot of complaints to this room. Something in the atmosphere is not right. So there's sometimes I go for money, and sometimes money comes to me.
I think that makes a lot of sense. And you just got to address the needs and make sure, like you said, you got to keep the faculty and the students happy so things are working right. I know I mentioned it. I'm sure it's on a lot of people's minds, but a lot of us are going to be in Vegas next week for Infocom. Is there how can we check this out? Maybe find you, see you there, ask more questions.
If you're not already registered for the experience tour, it's sold out. So unfortunately, you won't be able to join. That is of our new advanced engineering building. That is a really, really cool space. Threw a lot of tech at that guy. They're actually still finishing some things in there right now. And when I mean finishing, I mean features like makerspace stuff and labs upstairs. Once the building is done and it's turned over to us, it's one thing. But once the faculty move in and the students start using it, they start saying we should be buying this, we should buy this, we should buy that. So a lot of ads are happening right now. There's a lot of teething going on, but it's still an amazing space. It's our first new building in the last 6 years. So it's our first new building. So that tour is going on Tuesday. There's a friends and family tour on Monday for some folks that have already reached out to me, and we got some people coming, and we go and stroll the campus. But other than that, you can find me at the HETMA booth. You can find me at one of the many other booths. I'll be walking around with my crew. LinkedIn, can't miss me there. If you're ever in town, you want to see the sites, come see our campus. Give me a call.
Awesome. Well, we're really excited for all that, and to see all you guys in person very soon. So I'd like to invite Mike and Troy back on. I think we want to open this up to the questions from the crowd, the folks watching on the webinar side. But I want to kick it off with the three of you. Frank was just talking about, hey, sometimes I get money rains down. Sometimes I have to go ask about it. I know that's in the back of all our minds in Pro AV. It's how am I going to fund this? I can, the world's my oyster if I have an unlimited budget and I can do anything. But how does that get planned out? And one of the big things we hear about there is refresh cycles. Are you guys, we've talked also a lot post COVID. Where does the money come from? How are you guys innovating there? How are you making that work as kind of demand increases? And whoever wants to jump in, take the first whack at it.
So I'll jump in. So we have kind of stopped refreshing whole classrooms. So we had money to spend, couldn't get gear, had to be spent. So we ended up buying all laser projectors. Then replaced a bunch of aging DSPs. Replaced all our matrix switchers. Replaced all our processors and touch panels this year. And it's worked pretty well because it lets us, leverage our buying power because we're buying a lot of a single product instead of a handful of a bunch of products. It lets us standardize across the board. So you're not like doing so by, attrition and you're not supporting aging technology necessarily. And it's some stuff lasts longer than other stuff. So, we've got, within, a year or two of all of our equipment being, about a year or two old outside of speakers and amplifiers, and they're going to last a lot longer. Like I'm not even thinking about replacing those at this point. So it's worked really well.
So we are certainly still on a, refreshing a room at a time, right? And just doing most or all the technology in the room. Certainly, we look at projection screens and speakers on a case-by-case basis. There's a lot of times where they don't need replaced, even if the rest of the technology does. So, we kind of feel that out as needed. But so we are, I have a 9-year spreadsheet that I maintain to try and see if I can maintain a 9-year refresh cycle. It, spits out how much money I theoretically need each year moving forward. And I try and use that to go to leadership and say, hey, to maintain this refresh cycle, this is how much money we need. And I've had greater or lesser success at that at various points in time, right? So, our ideal refresh cycle would probably be more like 7 years. My spreadsheet's at 9 years, and realistically, we're probably more at 11-year cycle right now, which is way too long. But you do what you can with the money you have. And one of the things that's increasingly challenging though is as we have to add more lecture capture or hybrid technologies, that's becoming an expectation and not an option. That just makes every room that much more expensive. And so, it's a game of politicking internally to the university and sharing your elevator spiel with whatever administrator you can get next to you in a meeting or a room, and hoping for the best that somebody's going to give you the money you need. So that's where I'm at.
Yeah, I'm kind of like, I'm in a transitional phase ourselves here on campus. For the last 10 years, we were in the Troy boat of saying, I'm going to do 30 projectors, I'm going to do 15 computers, I'm going to do whatever, right? And that worked well for the time that we had and the amount we were doing. However, recently we've taken on a new vice president of digital transformation, CIO, and my new associate vice president. So my leadership has changed recently, and I have moved into a leadership role as being the manager recently. So now I have a little bit more say at that table, and they've came to me and said, how much money do we have invested in our classrooms? And you give them a number and their eyes get like saucers, right? They're like, wow. And I was like, yeah. And guess what? It's old. We need to fix this. So they've switched us over. Hopefully in July of 25, we begin our replacement plan, and we are doing full rooms at that point. And I mean full rooms, like Troy said, speakers we won't change. There's certain items in there we're not going to change. It's going to be the nuts and bolts of the stuff that's basically out of warranty. And 5 years to 6 years is generally where warranties start to fail and items start to fail. So we're in a 5 to 6 year plan that we have laid out on paper. We'll start tweaking it as we get closer to find out what's going to be our best bang for the buck. Like Mike says, we want to spend our money wisely. We want to be able to take the money where we're allotted and use it smartly across our rooms, not just, I'm going to do this just because it needs it. I'm going to do this because it needs it. But on the other hand, we have to be smart about it and try and do buildings at a time or floors at a time, like-minded equipment near each other. For us, we found beneficial that if we have something go down in one room, I have spares of that exact thing in that building that I can take and use. So it's smart support based on smart money funding. So that's kind of where we're at with our tech. I'm sure if you ask 10 other schools, you're going to get 10 different answers. But fact of the matter is, everybody on this panel and everybody in higher ed that's in our position knows that funding is always the number, and the number is never controlled by us.
I think that's a great way to put it, Frank. And that a large part of that, and you've all figured out different ways to make it work, for your
Right.
institution and for your users. And I think that's what's critical, and that's why I love hosting these panels and chatting with so many of you folks, because I think there's definitely ways you see as you bridge what other folks are doing to make it work on your campus as well. So I'm sure it's not dissimilar based on needs. And it's just fun to see how you and Troy are going in different directions because of what's going on at your schools and how that works better for each of you. And I think one of the things Mike said in there that I want to dig into a little bit, because we do have, a comment around, lecture capture and kind of a question on it, is as that becomes a requirement for your spaces technically, how do we get the folks like the faculty to release the videos and create the videos and use the videos so that the students can take advantage of that experience? I mean, how did that transition happen on your campuses, or is it still a challenge where faculty doesn't want to be captured or release content?
Well, I guess I would say it's still very much a case by case basis. You have faculty are on the whole spectrum of, yeah, we're gonna capture everything always, and make it public to the whole world. Then you have the other side, where if they walk in a room with a camera in it, they're gonna find a coat or a hat they're gonna put over that camera because, gosh darn it, they don't want anyone peeking in on what they're up to. And so you know ultimately that's not for us to control, right? All we can do is provide the tools and make it available, provide the training, and then ultimately it's up to the academic, the pedagogical side work with those instructors to help guide them to, what's going to be best for their students.
I
So
think that makes, oh, go ahead, Troy. Yeah, I think it makes a lot of sense.
So we're on a case by case. They request lecture capture. I think getting the word out to everyone that it's a thing. It's a little bit of a chore. We don't want to bombard people with emails, but the emails we do send, some of them don't get read, right? That's always a thing we have to deal with. But just through trainings, working with our teaching and learning technologies team who kind of work with the faculty directly to kind of get the word out has helped a lot. I'd love to move to at least an opt out kind of thing where the lecture captures are automatically, unless they say we don't. I mean, if it was up to me, I think everything would be captured. And they wouldn't have an option to opt out. I mean, it becomes an equitability issue at that point, because if some classes are recorded and some classes aren't, like I said, that's an equitability issue to me. It shouldn't be an option. I don't think we'll ever get there. I think the most that I can hope for is just a kind of an opt out situation, but that would avoid having to schedule things because having to schedule lecture capture request is a very tedious job at this point, and it takes some of my team members a week or more of their lives every quarter to do. So love to get out of that game.
Yeah, for us, it's you could schedule, and on our Crestron touch panels, it'll come up if it is scheduled from 9 to 10, 10 to 11, whatever it is. So they're pre-scheduled in there for recording. But we also have a button on our panel for ad hoc. So if you say you're sitting there and you're a faculty member and you're in your office and you're like, geez, I forgot to mention something about this in my lecture. They're going to need this for next week. They can go to a classroom, find one that's open, go in, hit the record button, record 20 minutes of their lecture, whatever it is, and then contact our e-learning folks and they will upload that to our LMS. So we have both ways. So we have scheduled and we have ad hoc. But for us, again, it's the faculty driving it, right? So we have the same folks that are covering up the cameras in Mike's room. They're covering the cameras up in our room as well. We do put an optional power on, power off button on our panels that sometimes when they hit that and they see the camera turn around and face the wall, that stops them from putting a coat over that camera because that hurts our motors on our cameras. We don't want them doing that. So we decided to put a little on button and off button there, and that camera faces the wall. They feel a little better. They're not being recorded. But there's that time that they go home and they say, you know what? I wish I recorded that class. Well, yeah, because Troy's right. If we record everything, you can opt out. That's great. Just say this week wasn't important, didn't need to be recorded. You send a message to e-learning and they delete it from the system, right? So there's ways to do it. We just need buy-in from the folks that are actually viewing it and recording it. We're just the tools in the background. We give them the tools to make it work.
So I think you're all talking a lot about that. Hey, I'm, I'll call it the alchemist. I'm the tool keeper. I'm creating this system for someone else to drive the experience. We've got Kevin in the audience asking a question. If any of you cross over a little bit more into that pedagogical side and help with planning how the rooms are used, or is that more hey, someone else comes with a set of requirements to me, and how do you manage those interactions?
I'll just jump in since I was the last guy to talk on the last one because it's
Sure.
kind of where I was going with that. So we have a faculty center here on campus and we work closely with our e-learning team and our faculty center. So the faculty center is kind of like a lounge, and they go in there and they have trainings on different things and how to teach the teachers basically is what goes on in the faculty center. So we get involved with that. And we let them know what we have coming down the pipe in technology, or we let them come to us and say, hey, I taught at this school last semester. They did this. Could you guys look into that? And we could be like, yeah, that's something we could look into, or something that we could say, that we've tried that, it doesn't work here. So those are things that we do is we reach out to the faculty. The faculty reaches out to us. We have a very good rapport with that. So that's kind of how like the boat that we're in, we kind of have to steer the ship. But on the other hand, we kind of have to be open-minded and listen to what the faculty are bringing to us, even though sometimes they may think it's beneficial to what they're doing, but it's actually may not be beneficial to the ecosystem that we have here on the campus. So that's where we're at with that.
So we likewise have like it's called the Teaching and Learning Technologies team, but basically your faculty center. They kind of work with the faculty around technology, around Canvas and things like that. We work pretty closely with them. Whatever they need with faculty, we try to have one of our team with them, and then whenever we meet with faculty, as a group, it's kind of the same thing, and that's worked pretty well. But we don't really work on the pedagogical side, at all. Outside of that, that's all. We're completely technologists on my team. I try to kind of steer. Faculty comes and says, this product is so great. I kind of try to steer them away from products, right? And tell me what you want to do as opposed to what you want to put in, because it might not work. Oftentimes you get products that don't have like that enterprise backbone. And I don't want something that's difficult to support and I have to put somebody in a room and eyes on every time something goes wrong. I want something that has that enterprise backbone, that infrastructure behind it that I can scale, right? So that's really important to me. Get requirements. Don't let them dictate what the type of equipment you install is. So
a couple of years back, I did a survey of the faculty, and one of the questions I asked was an open-ended question, which is more or less, right now we provide a technology in the room and you teach to whatever technology is currently in the space. If we could flip the script and we could provide the technology that's ideal for the way you want to teach, what would that technology look like? And the answers I got back were very uninspired. I think they had a really hard time opening up their imaginations to that, because they're just so used to, well, this is the technology we have, so this is the technology that we teach against. And so it's an ongoing battle to try and dig that out of instructors as to, what would you really want from a technology perspective to teach the way you really want to teach. So it's something that we're continually trying to figure out.
I think that's probably the best way to put it. We're all trying to figure it out, and like Frank and Troy are talking about with having the faculty centers and those groups, like it's kind of a moving target. We're all, I don't want to say chasing it, but we're all working towards it in a degree. And I think one of the other questions I'm seeing in here, which is somewhat related, Troy mentioned, hey, I want to have requirements, not specs or products. And I've heard touch panels mentioned. I've heard cameras. We've got Ed asking, what CMSs are you guys all using for content management? Is it, you're all using Nexus, but I'll broaden that a little bit. How are you controlling the rooms? What are these, cameras and Nexus units? Where are they going into Panopto, Kaltura, or is it Crestron? Is it Extron? Because I know from the three of you, it's a bit of a mix, and I think everybody else wants to understand that too, and how you're making it all work. So maybe give this one to Troy to kick off, because you were in the middle last time.
Yeah. Okay. So we're a Crestron shop. So it's all Crestron control, matrix switcher, Crestron. We use Avercam, Panasonic camera, various cameras, PTZ optics. There's some what is that other company? Blanking on the other camera company that we put in. We're kind of stuck on the Avercams now, just because price point, and they offer all the connections that we kind of want. They went away from it for a little bit. That's why we have the other cameras. We're kind of looking into auto tracking at this point, but it's still maybe not where we need it to be to implement. But we're looking to start buying those cameras at least for as those. It's getting better. We use Panopto. So we're a Panopto house, really happy with it. Outside of, I would really like if they had a better bulk scheduling tool. yeah, I guess that's pretty much it for us.
Yeah, we're similar. We're a Crestron house, use Panopto as well. The bulk scheduling, I believe, is something that they are looking into. If I'm not mistaken, one of my coworkers, Andy Bortz, has been working with them about that same problem. But yeah, we're Crestron house, Panopto, and camera wise, we use Lake Troy sorts. So to get into the backbone of all that, it's just, yeah, the important stuff. Crestron controls it, Panopto records it.
So here at Iowa State, we're an Extron house from the control and switching perspective. That's what we've standardized on. But we're also Panopto from a CMS perspective. Well, so we actually have two different systems that we're using simultaneously here on campus, depending upon the school. So a lot of our schools are using Echo 360, and of course, Echo 360 has their own hardware associated with their lecture capture. Vet med, business, engineering, they tend to be more using the Echo 360 experience. And then for our general university classrooms, and then most of the other colleges, they're more on the Panopto side. So Panopto is what we support as a team directly, because we are responsible for the general university, and that's what we put in some.
I think it's fun kind of from our side to hear how you all have some differences as far as, control on it. And in this case, everybody's using Panopto, but we do have, quite a few schools out there also using Kaltura and Yuja, and we're spinning up OpenCast later this summer. We've got the first 3 deployments across on the other side of the Atlantic in Germany that are getting worked on right now, and we're excited about that. And that's kind of one of the fun things we believe in strongly, and why we have all 3 of you here today is, we want to make sure that from the Epiphan side, we work with everybody. Because I think, from the previous question about supporting faculty and solutions, I think the real power of AV is the fact that you all can design the right solution for your campus, and that involves a lot of different manufacturers working together. And kind of, I know we're getting towards the end of time, and kind of where I want to leave us today in the last question is something that we've surveyed a lot of our higher ed customers. And one of the fun questions that, like Mike surveying his faculty, that we asked all of, folks like you, all these AV professionals out there was, do you believe your school is taking adequate advantage of the possibilities with video in education? And the fun part about the responses is it's 51% saying no and 49% saying yes. So I'm going to guess that we're going to have a split in here on where that can go. So I want to put that to the 3 of you on the panel is, do you believe that, UNLV or Iowa State or Northwestern are taking full advantage of what you can do with video?
No. I don't think our school is. I don't think many schools are. Like Troy just said earlier, we should be recording everything. We didn't have this luxury when we went to school. We had to sit there and write notes, sneak a tape recorder in, what have you. And today, the students are used to using their devices. They're used to going home and watching videos. So look what we're doing right now, right? This is the new way to do things. So it's a new form of learning. It's not scary. I think we should be recording a heck of a lot more. I think we need to invest far more into it. Look, we're already paying for the unlimited license. We might as well use the darn thing, right?
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, we're certainly not using it to its fullest extent here either, right? Still, other than a couple of colleges, most classes, only a fraction of them are getting captured in any way, shape, or form. It's interesting and frustrating too, as far as, a lot of that is it gets driven from the faculty, right? They either want it or they don't. And, we're just not seeing, I mean, there's funding challenges too, but we're also not seeing a tremendous push from the faculty for it in some cases. Again, back to some of them don't want it. And what's interesting to me is that, they have a whole classroom of kids with laptops in front of them. with cameras on both sides of the laptop lid anymore. So any student in that room could be capturing them. So they're not in this position to keep their stuff secret. It's just not the world we live in. Every student has 3 devices on their person at any point in time that have a camera that can do video and audio capture. So it's just a fact of the new world order that we're in, as far as video is ubiquitous to where we are, and so we need to take better advantage of it as well. And another aspect of that is, in this new world of video, you don't have to be so focused on one continuous lecture. I think there's so much more that we could do where we have faculty put things into more bite-sized videos, 3 to 5 minutes, and make more of those. And that just makes it easier for students, to go back and find the thing that they really wanted to review. It also, helps with attention span, and it would help with creativity as far as what the faculty to put on those videos. So I think that's another way that we're really not taking advantage of this to the full extent.
So just to kind of jump on what everybody said here is, no, we're not taking advantage of it. Lecture capture could be better, but really to touch on what Mike kind of just was talking about, I think that content is king, right? And that's what kind of the backbone of everything that we do. No matter what I do, no matter what technology I put in front of people, like the content that they've created is what matters more than anything else. And we're not really seeing, like, all of our content is still 1080, right? Nobody's creating content for 4K, and I've got manufacturers trying to push 8K on me, right? So like that's where the problem is here now, is we need to focus on how do we help the faculty develop their content better, and I have no idea how to do that, right? So that's kind of the problem that we're at. We need to start developing content design for the technology that we're actually installing today. So
Yeah, the vast majority of our instructors, they use the PowerPoint or whatever their content is, and then the audio. Most of them don't even use the camera. So, like we said earlier, they don't want to be seen. They just want to be heard. And to us, audio is the best, has to be the best thing on that content, because if they're not hearing what's being said, then Panopto can't transcribe it for our DRC department, for the students that want to use the keyword to find something. So we need clean audio to best, and then PowerPoints all day long. But the sage on the stage, that's kind of gone away these days. They don't care about being seen in the classrooms. They just want their content to be out there, and they want to be heard, for the ones that are using the recording features. I think that's the most important stuff for us, is to make sure that the audio is what gets captured along with their content.
Yeah, I think that's been something that since I started in this business quite a few years ago, and we started building UC systems, and we all love to talk about video, but if the audio isn't clear, if you can't hear people, we usually are going to put up with a lot more copy video challenges. But of course, we want to deliver both and make them both work really well. And I think that's kind of what we've heard from all 3 of you today on the panel, and it's been great having you. I think we're gonna wrap this up here on the hour, so I want to thank you all, Mike and Frank and Troy, for joining us. We're as Epiphan, and I think I'll speak for most folks in the audience, really excited to continue this conversation at Infocom. Drop in lines to folks that are on the call. Feel free to reach out, and we'll see. I hope a lot of you too in October in Ames, Iowa next year. It's their next fall. I think school years already, but yeah. So thanks everybody for joining.